Now, I want you to think about this very critically, okay? Have you ever been, or are you in a situation whereby you think like there is something fishy that goes on in your family? You compare your parents, how they are as far as the finance is concerned. Then you compare their parents, that is your grandparents. And then you realize there is a certain capping. And then you compare your great parents or the parents to your grandparents. And then you realize that is the same cycle. And where you are, you feel like, hey, am I likely getting myself into the same situation or the same struggle? By the way, if you're watching this video from the Western countries, you're like, what are you talking about? Anyway, if you're African, you can relate to what I'm talking about. You find yourself, you guys usually get yourself the same cycle. You continually doing the same thing, and then you realize you guys don't even go far. You actually rotate within your village, and then you realize like, hey, your sister is married to sort of like another road, and you're married on the other side, and there is this kind of you don't progress in terms of the finance. Now, on this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how to end the generational poverty, because it is real and it is existing out there. And the good news is this, you can actually break it and move to the next level. And by the way, if you're first time watching me, I am Joseph, talk about anything related to finance, money, anything to investments and all those kind of things, okay? And by the way, I usually post a video each and every day. And do you know what you should do so that you don't miss any of my good videos? Just below down there is a small button written subscribe. Hit that magical button and like this video. That is like telling me, hey, thank you, Joseph, for doing that. All right. Now let's get to the point. Now I'm going to share with you 2 ways on how you can actually end this generational poverty. Okay. Now the way number one thing that you're supposed to understand or do is this. Now let's just sort of divide this board into two. One end, let's put what we say, look what they did and don't do it. Don't do what they did. Don't do what they did. All right? Don't do what they did. All right? So what does it mean? For you not to do what they did, then you have to identify what they did for you not to do it, because it now gives you a clear result that, hey, if you do what they did, then these are the end results. Okay? Now, the other way is to actually do, okay, what they didn't. They didn't. All right? Just identify what you know very well ought to have been done, but nobody's bothering to do it. All right? It's that simple. Out of these two options, you can actually generate more things. But the truth is the only these two simple examples. And by the way, there was a time I made a video and I told you guys, do not take the financial advice from your parents if you know they have failed financially. I repeat, do not take financial advice from your parents if you know they have failed financially. Do not stop them whenever they start to talk. Hey, don't talk to me. No. Listen to them. But you know at the end of the day, you won't do what they did. Because come on, if you keep on doing the same thing, and guys, you don't have a justification that you did something. For example, if today I tell you this is how to make content on YouTube, this is how you can get 50,000, this is how you can make 60,000. Have I gained the 60,000 myself? Do I have them? There's no way I can tell you this is how to make content on the YouTube, and I'm not even a YouTuber myself, okay? Or a content creator or something of sort, all right? So now, don't do what they did. Okay, what did they do? Okay, fine. One thing that you find that these people, probably one, they never bothered to do what? To get what we call the financial literacy. Financial literacy, all right? Maybe it's out of their choice. Some of our parents were ignorant. It is true, by the way, and it's not an offense to say so. It is true. Some of our parents were ignorant. Others, they never had the opportunity to get the financial literacy, the financial understanding, in terms of investment, how to manage our funds, how to grow ourselves, okay? By the way, I remember back when I was growing up, I grew up in an up country, and I remember we used to, when we come to the season to, sort of harvest maize, we used to eat maize like all the time. When the season for beans, we eat beans all the time. When the season for sweet potatoes or potatoes, Irish potatoes or whatever, we eat that. I never saw some sort of an idea where they can actually take that product, take to the market, at least come with a maize flour or wheat flour. There was sort of, there's a way these upcountry people and village people usually tend to think about. So they never had that opportunity to actually do what we call the financial literacy. Number two, toeing to the system that never worked for them, okay? Don't do what they do. They toeing to the system that never worked for them. For example, you see, back then when our parents actually grew up, they actually realized one thing. Our parents actually are the kids of the people who fought for the independence in Africa. You can relate to what I'm saying. Our parents who gave birth to us are the kids of the people who fought for the independence. You get what I'm saying? So they kind of most of them tend to relax. There was a very active group of people who our grandparents, that is the parents to our parents, who are alive today and that fought for the independence. They had the great visions of our country. And then the people who inherited the nation, who inherited our motherland, they actually sort of relaxed. And by the way, they thought it's their time to actually grab and all the corruption and everything. And they kind of mirrored the exact thing that the colonizers used to do. So there's some of the things that they actually inherited to them. Toying to the system, they actually never came up with a solution that can actually solve our current problem. Number 3, you realize one thing. Hey, there's something you can realize with our parents. Most of them usually have what we call the comfort zone. Comfort zone. So being in comfort zone in this sense that you find them, most of them, like, hey, there's this actually procedure that they usually have: go to school, get the good grades, get that job, and that's it. That's how we define success, and that's the only way. The other thing is that you find, like, these guys usually have, some of them, not all of them, they have like great or big parcels of land, but they do not even know how to value add. But have you ever come across a certain family who have a very big parcel of land, and then you, like, some several acres, and then there is this saying, like, hey, this parcel of land ought not to be sold by anybody. It's supposed to be here. But the person who ought not to sell this parcel of land, you do not have the capacity to value add this piece of land so that at least you can be able to generate something out of it. And by the way, if I borrow something from the Bible, it says, subdue the world. To subdue is to transform it to suit your needs. To subdue it is to actually modify it to fit your needs. You have 10 acres piece of land. You don't even know how you can actually, probably you can even sell like 2 or 3 acres, be able to value add the others. At least you live a decent and a presentable life. But you rather have the parcel of land, growing some maize or beans or corns or whatever you guys call it, and then there you are, and maybe you are planting some cocoa trees and something of sort. Like, I was watching some documentaries from Ghana and what have you, and you realize that somebody has a very big piece of land, but they cannot actually even live in a decent life. So that is sort of living in a comfort zone. Some of the things that they inherited, they don't want to disturb their comfort, so that at least they can go beyond that, so that you can move to the next level. Another thing when it comes to comfort zone is just living in the village continuously. You're just in that environment. You relate to the same people. These are the guys whom you grew up with. You actually married at the same age. And then these are the same people you interact with. You never get any new thing that actually comes across there. You not even interact with the people from outside. If maybe you come from a certain village, you just relate to that people whom you grew up together, whom you actually married the same together. Probably those guys are your family members. So you don't even tend to get anything new inside of your head. All right. So that is what they did. That's actually what they did. And now, what exactly can we do? All right. If you want to do something so that at least to break that chain of poverty, number 1, you have to actually break the comfort zone. You have to exactly do what they did not do. And what that thing is they did, they actually got themselves the education. It's quite a principal thing. It's quite one of the simplest things that you can ever acquire. But hey, right now, if you say education will actually solve your problems, somebody can actually be on your throat and tell you, no, it is not true. The fact is, you're supposed to change your comfort zone. Get out of the place that you were born from, okay? If that place is not actually suiting you in terms of the development, go interact with new and new mind. Go interact with new mind, all right, and people of different caliber, so that at least you can learn something and progress to the next level. Number 2, access and appreciate. Appreciate, all right, financial literacy, meaning got to learn something about the finance, understand how to invest, where to invest, when to invest, how to go about it, so that at least you can understand how the money works. All right, because some people usually tend to believe, by the way, I've ever interacted with an individual from the village and told me, hey, life is all about eating, dressing, marrying as early as you can. And by the way, have you ever realized that these guys from the village are the people who really push you as far as the issues to do with marriage is concerned? The moment you tell them you are 22 years old, they say, and what are you doing? You're supposed to have a family. You're supposed to be married. There are the people who usually think about that. It is true, love ought to be considered when you're marrying. It's true, but at the same time, finances are quite an essential thing that you're supposed to. Don't bring kids on earth and let them suffer. So appreciate the financial literacy. Learn the financial literacy. And where can you get the knowledge? From a good Joseph channel and any other channel that talks about finances. You can actually go acquire the knowledge. That's how we sharpen ourselves, okay? And number 2 is actually doing what? Taking risks. Learn to take risks. Learn to take what? take risks. For example, have you ever tried to go back to your village and try to do something? Okay, and then these people usually give you like sort of a negative energy. Hey, you're not supposed to do that. You cannot succeed. That thing has never been done in this village. I totally even doubt if you can actually make it, and all those kind of things. So these people, they actually love to actually just to conform with the norm and all those kind of things. So learn to take risks. When I say risks, obviously I mean calculated risks, not just any risk just because I said we take risk. No, you actually go out there, take some little and fewer risk out here and there, which are actually calculative. Interact with the people whom you admire in life. And if you do not have access to them, it's not a must that you have a physical friend. You can have virtual friends. You can have people who do something on the YouTube, on the social media, that you can be able to learn something from them. And in that process, you can try to internalize, actually accumulate that one, assimilate it and actually execute it, so that at least you can change and transform your mind. And let me tell you one thing. One of the things that you're supposed to change in your life for you to actually realize a progress is actually your mindset. That is the very basic thing that you have a control of. Everything that is outside of your mind, you cannot control it. You can't control weather, you can't control nothing. The only thing you can actually control is your perception and the way you understand things. Okay? Now, the point is this. The other thing, what they didn't do and you're supposed to do it, is to actually go ahead and do what? All right, that's correct. You're supposed to go ahead and follow the things as the things goes on. What do I mean by this point is that, hey, if them marrying at 18 or 17 or 20 or whatever, of which I do not advocate at that age, you're supposed to marry at the right age. You yourself not only consider love and also old age. Consider also, are you financially stable? Do not get yourself into, for example, there's some people usually think like but there was some people who were telling me like one of the way you can actually escape poverty and maybe struggling is actually getting married if you're a lady. That does not solve any problem. You see, if you get yourself the same weakness that you had from your home, and then you join the neighboring home, and they're same suffering from the same problem, they have the same notion, they have the same perception, they have the same thinking, they come from the same village, and then you guys, you expect a miracle. Well, I'm not saying it can't happen, it can, but obviously, as far as that what is concerned, you can control. You've not done nothing about it. So what you're supposed to do is that not only consider age and also love, but also consider that person whom you're getting yourself into in life as far as the marriage is concerned. If you're the kind of a person who loves marriage and all those kind of things, you actually supposed to get into a person who not only sort of have the cash, but also they are smart. They can actually be able to see some problems in the society, so that at least you can grow yourself to the next level. Now, the other thing that you're supposed to do for you to actually break the chain of poverty in your family is to be and isolate yourself. Isolate yourself, okay? To isolate yourself. Isolate yourself and be unique. What do I mean by this? You can just even look at your family members, what they do, like your brothers, your sisters, and whatever. And there is this thing, whenever actually there is an individual who is trying to rise in a certain given family, you find some of the people actually tend to hook all their dependency to that individual. And this is where the issue of actually supporting your family members without you going broke. There is a video I made about that. You can check it previously, okay? Now, the point is this. Actually, if you realize that, hey, these family members, I'm trying to rise and they're actually trying to pull me down, you're supposed to actually be an individual who is known to stand by their words. Sometimes I say, hey, you brother, be a little bit rough on them, like 2 or 3 or 4 years. And then after that, you can actually come back with full force and you can actually uplift them. Rather than you just getting started and then people are pulling you back, you don't even have the zeal, the motivation to actually have the thrust to push yourself to a point whereby you are in a point where we can say you are at a point of no return. Even when it comes to wealth, there is a point where you say it's a point of no return, okay? What do I mean? Like, you're in a situation whereby, like, the much you've invested, the much you've made, the much you've accumulated, well, it can be squandered and end, but the fact is it will require a lot of effort compared to actually, getting more. You get what I'm saying? So it is good actually to make sure that at least you draw a line between all those family members and you can actually be able to appreciate them and move to the next level. Number 3, or the other point is that avoid negative energy. Avoid negative energy. All right, avoid negative energy. When I say avoid negative energy, is this: have you ever come across a family whereby you find your aunties, your uncles are the people on the front line, trying to advise you, telling you, hey, how they do their things, how their families are, and some of the customs, what was said, or all those kind of things. If you keep on having all those kind of things in your head, you're actually gonna rotate in that specific area. You ain't gonna progress, and you're gonna actually rub shoulders with life. So it is good to make sure that at least you avoid the negative energies rather, and also isolate yourself from some of the characters that they get themselves into. And by the way, avoid common things that are avoid common things that happens in your family, common things that happens in your family. For example, you may realize that your family has been distracted by alcoholism. If you realize that your family is actually affected by alcoholism, if you realize that your family is actually has a problem with marriages, it's true. You may go to a certain family and you realize nobody has ever married in that family. Nobody don't even have kids. Most of those people are actually like rebellious people and all those kind of things. So identify that weakness in your family. Try to detach yourself from it. Try to do things differently. Obviously, you'll be painting some names. You're trying to show how smart you are. You're trying to show how unique you are. Probably you are the first person to go to university and all those kind of things. It's always good to detach yourself from that norm so that at least you can try to see a difference. Okay, sometimes you may not be sure if this will work, but at least you are sure you won't do what they did, therefore you are likely to get a different result. I'll repeat my point. Sometimes you doing all these things, you're not sure whether the things will work. All what we do is walk by faith, not by sight, and also believe in what you are doing. So all what you can say you're 100% sure is you are likely not to get the same results as they got. But if you do exactly what they did, then I do not understand why you should even be waiting something different as a result out of what exactly you're doing. So if you can actually conform to these things, you can actually go ahead and realize, hey, guess what? I can actually detach myself and actually put that an end as far as this generational poverty is concerned, because it's reason it's out there and is affecting most of the people, especially the African society and African families. Okay, probably there is a point I have left, and I subscribe to this understanding. Just like an iron sharpens another iron, so do we learn from each other. Comment on the section below and tell me, hey, Joseph, this point ought to have been included. I also think this is what, oh, by the way, I managed to break mine and I did this and the other. And we can actually make this a very good home where everyone actually learns and you can be able to elevate our families. If not making the world a better place, at least making our families and our homes a better place. Okay? By the way, don't forget, you can always pick my number from the description of this specific video. Shoot me a call. I offer those services at a personal level, obviously at a cup of coffee's price. And don't forget one thing, I also have some ready booklets on investment and different kind of investments for only 280 Kenyan shillings. You can get your copy of the booklet. For now, it's a goodbye, but don't forget, like the video, subscribe, and see you in the next one.